Now, you might not like to hear this, but if your brand or your business feels really scattered and all over, it actually might be your content strategy. But here's the deal, it might not be for the reason that you actually think. Now, a lot of times what happens is that most people, they try to create content strategy by looking at what other people are doing, by changing their platforms, by trying to change their niche and fit what other people want. Or maybe they just change their format completely. But what is actually missing in all of that is their values clarity. And what I mean by that is that when your values, when they're not clear, when you don't know who you are or what you're doing in the sense of like how you want to help other people, then it's really hard to align what you are doing to your strategies. And so you do not feel aligned in all of it. And I just want to share that every decision that we make, whether it's what we post, what we offer, how we show up, when we don't feel that sense of alignment, it actually becomes guesswork because we don't know what our values are or who we're trying to serve. But once you map your values, once you have a clear idea of who you're helping, you stop chasing what other people are doing or what other people are putting out there. And you really start to find things that are created from you and are more aligned to how you are as an individual and how you like to serve. Now, if you are ready to feel less scattered, then let's get your clarity back. I am Rachael Britton. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also a mindset, clarity, and strategy coach. And what I do is I love helping entrepreneurs, therapists, and coaches uncover what's holding them back and finally create that structure, that mindset, and that strategy that leads them to true time and financial freedom. And that is what we're going to do today. So, when I first started building my brand, I thought that clarity meant just having the perfect niche, having that statement that really was perfectly aligned with everything going on, how I could help others, having this perfect content plan. I would look at what other people were doing, I would try to mimic them, but then I kept second guessing myself. I would ask, does this topic fit? Should I even post this? And this was because I wasn't really aligned with what I was sharing. I felt really confused about my content. I felt really disconnected from my values and what I was serving and helping other people with. It just didn't feel authentic to who I was. And that made it even harder to create content because when I didn't have that alignment, when I didn't have that connection, I felt like I was, again, just throwing things out into the open, kind of like throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing what would work and what didn't work. Now, the moment I got clear, though, on what truly mattered to me, the moment I was more authentic with myself, it really allowed me to feel calm. It allowed me to find strength in what my skill set was, who I am as an individual, how I help other people. And it really allowed me to feel more connected to what I was sharing with others, whether it was online or in person. It felt more like heart work instead of a salesy work. I didn't feel fake in it anymore. And this is because when I came from this place of value, it really allowed me to use this internal compass. And that compass was my heart, right? And without our values, without that internal compass, even the best strategy will feel off. And so, again, when we look at our content, when we look at strategies, the first place that we need to look at is our values. And that is why when we look at creating a brand or voice for what we do, what we want to use, we can use this process called the value mapping. So, value mapping is how you turn self awareness into brand clarity. And here is how it works. The first thing that you want to do is you want to write down 10 words that describe how you want to feel and what you stand for. So these 10 words could be anything like freedom, depth, it could be connection, it could be growth, it could be simplicity. So just identifying 10 words that really describe how you want to feel and values that you stand for. And this is important because we need to know what our values are. We need to know who we are and what's important to us and how we show up, not only for ourselves or for others. Because once we lean into that, then we can do this second step, which is circling the top 3 to 5 core brand values that you identified. And this step is important because once we identify what are those 3 to 5 core brand values, these then become our non-negotiables that define our energy and define our decision making. Because now we're not just throwing things out there, we're looking at, okay, this is a value of mine. Freedom is a value of mine. How can I share freedom with others? How can I encourage, or how can I connect with them in a way that they can sense the freedom and value that can come with working with me or trying out this item that I'm sharing with them? We need to have a sense of our values so that we can come from that place. And then the third step in this is then to connect each value to your message or your content themes. So not only taking it's what we're doing here now is we're taking our value and we're connecting it to the actual message itself. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of this because I think this can be helpful as you navigate yours. But the first one is if one of my values is authenticity, right? I think it's very important to be authentic. That is what I stand for because being real is really important to me instead of being polished. So when I think about my content, when I think about what I'm providing, what I want to create is just having honest conversations. Maybe it's honest conversations about growth. Like for me, growth mindset is a huge part of what I love helping other people with. So I want to be honest about it. What does growth look like? How does that show up in our lives? Maybe it's providing behind the scene moments where maybe I have growth mindset moments where I have to check myself, right? And being able to show other people how that can be helpful, but also how that can be hard. And maybe it's sharing lessons while I am still learning them, or helping others see how they are learning within a growth mindset. So just being authentic my value of being authentic is really important because how I share how I share information with others is going to be based on authenticity. A second example of this, if my value was empowerment, if this is what I stand for of helping people trust themselves, then that is the lens I start looking through when I create content. So if my idea of a value is empowerment, my content that I create might be more focused on coaching insights, like how can others feel empowered? It might be simple frameworks, ideas of how they can find empowerment. Or it might just be questions that help people think differently, finding a sense of empowerment by looking at different situations or having different perspectives, right? So hopefully that helped, having a couple of examples within how to take your values and then put them into your content work. But what I really want you to look at with this is that you're not trying to pick content ideas anymore. Instead, you're trying to let your values decide how you show up. So when other people see you, you want to have them see you from a place of your core values. So now that you have taken the time to write out your values, please note that you don't need to choose just one passion or one value that you focus on. Instead, just focus on your truth. Choose your truth, okay? Because this is where clarity isn't about picking up just one version of you. It's actually allowing you to choose your most aligned self in this moment. Because our values, who we are going to shift and change over time as well. And so it's actually really helpful for us to check in, see what our values are in this moment or at this time in our life. Because sometimes another thing that we might do is we might have content that is based on old values and we think that it's aligned because it's how we used to feel, but we have new values now. So it's really important, again, for us to build from our values and to focus on our offers, our content, our brand voice from an emotionally congruent place with our values. We want emotions of what we share with others to match our values. So before you move on to the next video in this series or check out previous ones, I want you just to pause for a moment, and I want you again to just choose one of those values that stood out for you today, just one. And I want you to ask yourself, if I let this value lead me for the next 30 days, what would I create differently? So if you took that value and you just allowed that value to lead you for 30 days, what would it help you create different? And just let that answer guide you to your next post, to your next offer, or even to your next boundary that you have to set. And if you want to anchor this even deeper, I would love you to share it in the comments below. I would love to hear what what value you are choosing to lead with right now, and just put it out there. Let other people know that that's the value you are going to lead from. Because naming it out loud is how clarity starts becoming embodied, right? When we put action, not just action to it, but we voice it, we share it with others. It gets out of our mind, that intellectual piece, and it puts it out there. So next week, we are going to build on this with our core message clarity statement. And that is going to help you feel more grounded. It's going to help you feel more confident, and it's going to help you feel more unmistakably you. Okay. And as always, if this provided you even a small sense of calm or direction, please subscribe and hit that like. And I would love if you could share this with someone else if you feel like it would help them too. But at the end of the day, I just hope to see you at the next clarity session. I will see you next time.